Dave, check it out, man.
What I?
We started from the bottom or what?
Yo,
Are we here or what?
straight. Oh, are we here?
So we got a special episode for y'all today.
Yeah.
You want to let them know?
Something really awesome for our viewers.
Okay.
We have not just a hometown hero, not just a hometown native, but someone in the political office.
What? So we're getting in our political bag?
Yeah, we're in our
today?
political bag.
All the way in there today.
Price went up.
So check it out, man. Very, 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 very special guest. We got Mayor Michael Hancock in the building. Y'all make some noise.
Hey.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, fellas. What's up? Glad to be with you.
First of all, thank you for having us. This is an honor for us for sure. But for the people that don't know, sleeping under a rock, who are you?
Boy, they don't know we really in trouble right now. But I have the honor and privilege of serving as mayor of this great city. As a native of the city, it's a real honor to be in this office.
Awesome. So let's just get right to it. So what made you want to pursue the path of becoming mayor or just any political office?
You know, I'll be honest with you. I started, growing up in Denver, going and being bussed out of my neighborhood, Steck Elementary School. So I was bussed out of the 5 Points, Whittier neighborhood to Steck Elementary. Came back, went to school at Cole Middle School, and went to Manual High School.
Okay.
And it was during those years where I got involved as a student, as a student leader. I was on student council in every one of those schools. And, you know, I met a guy by the name of Federico Pena about 1982-ish, 3-ish. He had just been elected mayor. We had the same mayor for 14 years, so that's all we knew was one guy.
Oh, wow.
And when he beat Mayor McNichols to be the next mayor, he was our first Latino mayor. And just looked at it, I remember meeting him going, I want to be that guy one day. And that was it for me. The life of leadership, a life of being involved, and a life of one day pursuing this office.
Nice. So what does that path look like for someone that's out there and they're like, you know, I want to get in politics. I see Mayor Hancock and maybe he's my inspiration. What's the starting point from that?
Well, funny, Graffiti, you say that because you and I were just talking before we came on the air about your children. And I think it starts right there in your home. To be honest with you, I mean, I'm the youngest of 10 children.
Wow.
And I think about reflecting back on growing up. You know, it was not easy for us, but, you know, we grew up in the hood. We grew up in 5 Points, Whittier neighborhood, and I watched my brothers and sisters go through life, make the mistakes they made. And being the youngest of 10, you got to figure out how to be diplomatic and how to negotiate your way in and out of things and how you get yours and how you kind of see mom kind of figure this thing out as the head of the family. And, so that's really my first kind of image of leadership and how organizations move was my family.
Wow.
And then you kind of matriculate that into the rest of your life, how I managed my household as a father of 3 and, as a husband and managing our finances. The reality is being in these offices, being in these positions, not much different than how you manage your home. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes when we have tough decisions, I reflect on that. If I was making this decision for my household, how would I make this decision? Oftentimes the same way most people think.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, awesome. So speaking of the hood, I think that it's become apparent that the hood isn't exactly the hood anymore.
Right. Yeah, a little different.
It looks a little different.
Yeah.
I know that you have some initiatives that you're working on as far as combating gentrification and stabilization teams. Would you be able to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. One thing we should do everything we can to do is to preserve kind of the specialness, the culture of our communities, right? Mm-hmm. And having grown up in 5 Points and around Manual High School, I know how special it was that we grew up. And, it was primarily African American, but we had different cultures and races that were in the neighborhood as well. But we were a close community.
Right.
And I can tell you that I believe a lot of the emotionality around gentrification is not only are we seeing grandma and others not able to afford to stay in a neighborhood that they've been in for decades,
right.
But it's also the loss of that culture, that loss of sense of place for us, whether it's 5 Points in Juneteenth or just seeing that change. And so, we have a few things that we're doing. One is we're working to build and surge as much of affordable housing as we can. And so that people can live in the neighborhood that they grew up in and can stay in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. 2, we're also recognizing that the city is the first to see when there's a surge of investment coming into a neighborhood, whether it's private money or public money. We know first because people are filing permits with us, but we also know when we're planning to go in and build a park, to fix a road, new sidewalks, whatever. We should use that opportunity to kind of signal things are about to change. How do we move in and protect the residents who are there? Help them to understand what's about to happen in their community. Help our seniors know that we have a property tax rebate if property taxes go up and you can't afford them through the state and through the city. Seniors can get rebates so they can remain in place. That's usually the biggest threat to our seniors. is the rise in property taxes. Right. So we work to protect them, but surge affordable housing while at the same time bringing this combined effort of job creation to raise wages and things of that nature, because that's the greatest threat when prices begin to rise in our community. So we're moving in what we call our neighborhood equity stabilization task force or team, where we go in when we see this in the neighborhoods that are vulnerable and might be threatened, and try to bring resources to them so that we can help them with all this information to remain in place.
Right. Nice. I think gentrification is one of those things. It's catch-22 for me personally, because you want to have that same culture, and we grew up in the hood. We that's what bred us. But at the same time, like, we want nice things too.
Right.
So it's one of those topics that's hard to speak on in the community, but in the position that you're in, I'm sure that pressure's even tougher.
It's tough.
Because it all kind of boils back
to
the office.
But you know what? It also gives me, what helps me is that I come from the neighborhood. So when people say to me, hey, listen, 5 Points is changing, I know what change they're talking about. But I also know that 5 Points is in one of those neighborhoods that had been perennially neglected. Before I came in office. There wasn't building going on. There wasn't investment going on. And we invested, and you can look at the history of 5 Points, but today we're investing more in 5 Points than ever before. What we find is that the wealth generation is something we as a community, African American community, has to talk about. We don't have the wealth generation to kind of take advantage of the opportunities that have come into the neighborhood. And I'm not talking about someone bringing those opportunities. I'm just saying taking advantage of the times and saying, let's go buy these buildings so that we can, redevelop them ourselves and keep that wealth and keep those opportunities in African American hands. And we simply were not prepared for that opportunity, unfortunately. So we have to really think deeper when it comes to our community about how we generate not just good incomes, but good wealth.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. And especially on the topic of housing, and I think we all have kind of felt just the cost of living going up. But I think as an achievement and a victory, you guys were recently awarded or at least were able to double the funding for affordable housing.
Yeah.
Would you be able to speak on that?
Absolutely, man. Listen, I got nieces and nephews who are millennials who are starting out for the first time and looking to live in apartments, but also maybe buy their first condo, townhome, or first single family home. So I understand firsthand the pressure. My kids are all millennials. All three of my kids are millennials. So I get that. Here's the reality. We had committed 2 years ago $15 million a year for the next 10 years in Denver to build hopefully 3,000 homes is what we were hoping to build for our families in Denver. It wasn't enough. We stayed in a laboratory for 2 years thinking, how can we do this differently? How can we go deeper? How can we commit more resources? And then the idea appeared, popped in my mind, said, what if we partner with a third party partner? And that was Denver Housing Authority. And through their bonding capacity, what we're able to do is to double down, double our resources. Instead of 15 million, we're going to commit 30 million.
Right.
And we're going to surge funding through DHA's bonding capacity. They're going to issue 100 million plus bonds in the next few months to surge our purchasing, expansion, and development and preservation of affordable housing in Denver. Wow. And so in 3 years, and instead of having 3,010, we're going to have 6,005. And we're going to surge our funding. We're even going to buy the land so we can preserve it for affordable housing going forward. And so that's what you're talking about. We were rocking and rolling.
Okay. I think as far as maybe a tougher question.
Yeah.
So being a Black political figure, do you feel like there's more eyes on you to make sure that you're walking the straight and narrow as opposed to people of other nationalities?
I think that says enough.
In all of this country, one of the things that I get a chance to do is sit with elected officials all over the country. And I've had the honor, privilege of sitting with former President Barack Obama, U.S. Senator Cory Booker, mayors of all this country who are African American. And there is no doubt in any of our minds that we recognize that when we are given this privilege of serving, particularly when you're not, well, I don't care. Kasim Reed in Atlanta, Georgia felt it as well as an African-American mayor in a predominantly African-American community. You are watched particularly close. You don't, as one of my mentors, Wellington Webb, has said to me, you don't get that pass that maybe a white mayor would get. You don't get that pass. And if you look at the history of mayors in Denver, Federico Pena and Wellington Webb, both of them had recall efforts on them early in their administrations for things that you know, you just say, look, we got to get better at it. You look at how the media covered Wellington Webb, how they covered Federico Pena versus how they've covered white mayors or white elected officials. Doesn't come close. The scrutiny, the lack of or limited forgiveness that occurs, we know all too well what happens. And learning and being aware of that is the first step.
Right.
And then learning how to carry yourself and to, you know, you're going to make mistakes. No one's perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're human beings. You got to start with forgiving yourself first, right? I mean, that's basic life. Go back to what mom and dad taught you. Forgive yourself first.
That's real.
Ask your Lord and your Creator for forgiveness. And then, you know, you have to just be true to your convictions. This is what I believe in. We're moving forward. I've moved on from that. But you'll find, as I found recently, they'll keep coming back, trying to bring it back to you.
Right.
And you know, it's just the game. You know how it's played, and you just have to learn to live with it.
Mm.
Speaking of learning, politics, and I'm speaking personally and for the community. I think young black men, we have, if not one of the most powerful voices in the culture and community, but we go unheard. And like, I personally have an interest in politics. Politics has such a stigma around it. You know, you hear the word politician, people are like, it's standoffish.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to talk about the importance of politics and local politics and voting for one. Right now it's that, well, I don't want to vote for so-and-so because they're all just politicians anyway. Yeah. But now I'm starting to realize, all right, voting on the local level is important because it actually impacts me.
Like, super important.
Today. You know? So I kind of want to just get your thoughts on that.
Bro, Graffiti, let me tell you, you just hit the nail on the head. I'll spend a lot of my time between Labor Day and Election Day trying to remind our community, and I'm talking about community as abroad, but particularly speaking to African Americans, to not, you know, shake a stick and believe that your voice doesn't count. This is where decisions are made. We have a president serving today because too many of us stayed home. Yeah. Too many of us took for granted that Hillary Clinton would be elected. Too many of us were angry that Bernie Sanders didn't get a fair shake. You know, these are politics. Right. And at the end of the day, we're dealing with this dude in the White House because we stayed home, and it's not okay. So we have if we ever wanted an example, what happens when we decide to let someone else make decisions for us? Look at the White House today, and you see exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
We got to vote.
So as far as being able to get engaged and just get more information about what's going on in Denver, the different initiatives, how can people get engaged? How can people find out more about it?
Absolutely. Please, first of all, don't let social media speak for you. Don't let social media tell the story for you. If you have questions, go to the sources where you have all the information. For denvergov.org is the website for the city. If you want to know about housing, /housing. If you want to know about how we're planning comprehensively for the city, /Denver Right. If you want to know about gentrification, /equity or what have you, those answers to the questions are there. And we have to be willing to go beyond just the social media posts to kind of get the sense of really what the answers are in our city. And if you don't have all the answers after that, give us a call. We got people standing by and willing to try to answer your questions.
Definitely appreciate it. We plan on tapping with you more in the future and just staying in touch and helping you out however we can. So how can people keep up with the mayor?
Again, I have a website at Mayor Hancock, or that's my Twitter handle. We also have www.denvergov.org or milehighmayor.org is my email. So you can just send me emails. I get them all. I see them all and try to respond to all of them.
All right. Sounds good. Well, hey, we want to thank you again for coming by and just hanging out with us real quick.
Absolutely. Fellas, anytime. Let's talk sports too, man. Come on.
Hey, let's
football
do it.
Season.
Before we do wrap, I have one more
question. Here we go.
I almost forgot my question. So, one piece of advice, knowledge, any kind of information that you would give the next young Mayor Hancock out there, what would that be?
You know what? It really starts with building the foundation in yourself in terms of your values. This is a very value-laden. You don't want to be subject, or at least be serving at the whims of politics. You must come in with your own set of values. And so it starts with, when you're young, the things you believe in, being, let your yes be your yes, your no be your no. But also, you got to serve with your own convictions. And so start with building who you are. That's the foundation of being a great public servant.
Nice. Message received.
Sounds good to me.
All
All right, let's make some noise for Mayor Hancock. Hey, Life Still Podcast. I'm Graffiti.
And I'm Davey. We out.
All right. Thank you,
Good.
sir.
Y'all good, man.
All
Hey,
right.
anytime, man. Be happy to do it. Okay?